want to fight? Or you want to win?
Last night I had a dream that the world had turned around. All our hopes had come to be. The revolution starts now.
What a swell party this is.
Remember this moment. You're here, you're right here, and you're ready to fight.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. Star Wars just dropped the Andor Season 2 trailer. There's a bunch of footage, so we'll break it all down. There's a couple of details, too, about the way they're breaking the season up, because this is meant to be the final season. So if you're brand new to the channel, I will be doing videos for all the episodes, just like for Season 1. Be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. Probably going to go down is the most quality thing that Star Wars has done in the Disney Plus era. The important news that they release is that they're actually going to be releasing the season in a slightly different way. So what they're doing is they're basically taking the entire final season and they're going to cover the gap that's left in the time before Rogue One picks up. So they're treating each 3 episodes like a chapter in Andor's life, jumping the 5-year time jump over the course of the season. So there's going to be 4 chapters of 3 episodes each, and they make it sound like they're going to be releasing 3 episodes per week over 4 weeks. If you remember how long the episodes were during Season 1, they're relatively short episodes. I think that just basically means they're going to be releasing about an hour's worth of content, like a little bit more than an hour's worth of content per week. So technically, it's actually more like a regular show releasing episodes per week with only 4 episodes, but really it's like 3 different episodes per week. Little bit weird, and also one of the reasons why they're canceling the show. Like, this is basically the end of the show because it cost them so much to make, so much more than the other Star Wars series, but it's super quality, so I'll say that the money was probably worth it, at least for that. But the other big thing you probably noticed during this trailer is that they're including way more characters from Rogue One. A couple really big characters from the movie that are appearing finally. Starting with Orson Krennic overseeing the construction of the Death Star, finally confirmed by that post-credit scene from Season 1. Like, we see him sort of laughing it up, enjoying watching the construction of the Death Star. We'll see if there's also a Mads Mikkelsen, Galen Erso cameo by the end of the season. My assumption when it comes to stuff like that, like, there's still a lot of stuff that's probably not in the trailer. They're going to save for, like, the actual episodes, like the very end of the series, the tease stuff, like really big stuff. They might have a Darth Vader cameo scene because he's trying to destroy the rebels right now, so they might tease him at the end as well, too. Because I also think the idea is that by the end of the series, because we see so much of Yavin 4 in the rebel base during the events of this trailer, is that by the end of the series, we'll see all the disparate rebel cells that are meant to be disconnected across the galaxy, like they stay hidden and disconnected so that it's harder for the Empire to track them down. By the end of the series, they'll have become the actual Rebel Alliance, like they'll have allied and become the Rebel Alliance that you know from the original movies. Gonna go ahead and say we're probably not gonna get a Palpatine cameo scene, not expecting him to show up, like we won't be able to post the Palpatine meme. Somehow Palpatine returned again. Don't think we actually need him because there's so much other big stuff going on during this. But what they do during the trailer here is they break up a couple of key big scenes, action scenes, fight scenes, big explosions, operations that they're pulling, missions that they're pulling across a couple of different parts of the trailer. But it's basically like 4 or 5 different really big scenes. This first one starts at this big town square on some other planet. This doesn't seem like Coruscant. This is meant to be later from that scene where he was walking by. It seems like there's some big protest that goes on here. This is him on a totally different mission, totally different planet, inside some Imperial facility, it looks like. Him on another planet, totally different mission, different part of the timeline, where it seems like he's hot-wiring this car here. Then on a completely different mission, doing something completely different. This actually seems closer to Rebel Alliance design language. This looks like him breaking into another Imperial base. This might be him stealing that TIE Avenger. Them jumping through all these different scenes with him in these different outfits, these different missions, meant to show you how they're going to be jumping through the timeline. We get our first voiceover. He's on Yavin 4. He's wearing the same outfit that he was wearing during Rogue One. This seems a little bit closer to the end of the timeline. You can actually see the temple in the background here with a bunch of the X-Wings and all the pilots getting ready to work and getting ready to take off. His voiceover is coming from a different person. It seems like he's on this heist with him. Not totally sure what's going on here with him running through the fields here. This is him in the actual TIE Avenger. Based on the way they cut this scene, they want you to think that he's the person flying this TIE Avenger that shoots down this tank. We finally get Saw Gerrera back from Rogue One. He's going to be pulling a couple missions. We actually see him in a couple different scenes on what look like missions. There are a couple different scenes of Mon Mothma at this party here where they're all living it up, like this very, very decadent party where she actually starts to lose it and starts dancing with them. I don't think we've ever actually seen Mon Mothma lose her shit before. Part of the idea with her whole storyline is that she's part of this very rich, very decadent part of Coruscant that don't really care about all the terrible things that the Empire is doing. They just want to continue living it up, like let them eat cake kind of vibe. But I think we're all expecting that something really terrible is going to wind up happening that pushes her the rest of the way over the edge. Like she's been funding the rebels, but she isn't completely part of the rebellion yet. She's just slowly started to do that during season 1. I think something's going to happen to completely tip the scales where she officially becomes the leader of the Rebel Alliance. There's been a lot of theories about that because her daughter is never really mentioned that much in canon, and there's not really much mention of her husband either, so it's possible that one or both of them wind up dying. Also the fact that her daughter is named Leia, so that just makes you think of Leia, so maybe eventually she starts to think of Leia as her surrogate daughter. Not totally sure what Luthen is doing in his shop here. The smoke could be him cooking something, or it could be him accidentally cooking some electronics or something that he's actually working on. But it's probably something that he's working on, just because you see him doing that during all the other episodes when he goes back into the rear of his shop. We will see what kind of crazy Easter eggs they have around his shop. That was like one of the highlights of his shop, is they would just plant little Easter eggs from different things. Not always Star Wars things too. There are even some Indiana Jones Easter eggs in the back of his shop. Then we finally see Bix and Andor on a mission blowing something up. This could be Coruscant. It looks kind of like Coruscant. She hadn't really fully turned to the rebels during season 1, but she was helping Andor while he was helping the rebels. We start to get more scenes of Orson Krennic. Not really sure what planet he's on here, but he's just laughing. Like, this would probably be him during most of the series because they're almost reaching the height of the construction of the Death Star. Like, his plan has almost come to fruition. He's just been so hyped up about this for so long. He just feels like he's on cloud 9. It's probably not closer to the end of this series in the events of Rogue One that things really start to turn on him, and Tarkin basically takes the project from him, like the Death Star project. Like, no, this is my project. I'm taking credit for it, not you. Then he winds up unsummarily being killed by Tarkin, who fires the Death Star to test it out on his planet, essentially. R.I.P. Orson Krennic. How ironic, killed by the giant superweapon that you helped to build. When he says what a swell party this is, that's very clearly from a completely different scene. This scene of him is up watching the construction of the actual Death Star. Notice that they have not finished the super laser yet because they don't actually finish that to the beginning of Rogue One. Like, you literally see them laying the super laser into the Death Star in one of the opening scenes. Probably one of the most iconic shots from the entire movie. Space capes are back, but we did have the space cape with Moff Gideon. Not totally sure what's going on at the Rebel base here with the X-Wings taken off and this guy lying on the floor here. He seems like he's been punched out, like somebody's punched him out and or somebody else, and they've stolen the X-Wings and gone off on some mission. Notice how they're painted too. They're not painted like traditional X-Wings. This is just more of that same scene when he's walking around the town square and then you see everything start exploding, this big protest and all the stormtroopers run in. Seems like it turns into like a really, really big action scene. Not totally sure what planet they're on here or what this person is doing with Andor. Can't really tell if she's pissed at him, getting ready to yell at him, or if she's getting ready to try and kiss him. Seems like whatever's going on in his planet here, these stormtroopers are coming for his friend, who seems like he's in work gear, so not totally clear if he's helping the rebels or if this is like a completely separate event that's going on. But anytime you see fields like this, you think of Lothal, just because Lothal kind of looks like this in the background. But I don't think this is meant to be Lothal. I think this is just a completely different planet. It's meant to be that same planet where you actually see him with the TIE Avenger blowing up that tank. This is meant to be the same hallway scene that you see Andor in earlier in the trailer walking alone, but not totally clear what's going on here and why these people have the Stormtrooper gear without the helmets. They might just be rebels who have disguised themselves in Stormtrooper armor and they're just in the middle of this mission here. Or it could be that Andor just caught a bunch of stormtroopers unaware who just happened to have their helmets off inside the base. Just very rare that you see stormtroopers sitting around without their helmets on in Star Wars. We get a shot of Dedra, who I'm guessing is inside the Imperial Security Bureau. It seems like she's really exasperated by something. Orson Krennic meeting what looks like Mon Mothma and a couple other really rich people and other Imperial Security Bureau people in the background. When you're talking about the hierarchy of the Imperial Security Bureau, he'd actually be closer to the top, but he is not the top. He's just one of the more senior ranking members. Then we start to get longer scenes of that scene of him stealing the TIE Avenger, just completely working over the Imperial base as he works on his escape here. More scenes of Mon Mothma losing it whatever giant party she's at here on Coruscant. Them in the middle of some rebel mission entering hyperspace. More of that party that Mon Mothma goes to. This weird device here with the lights just seems like the Star Wars version of a video camera. Can somebody get me one of these for my YouTube channel? It'd actually come in really handy. We finally get to see K2SO come back. Alan Tudyk came back as the character. There were a lot of questions about him during Season 1. They said they were mainly just waiting for Season 2 to bring him back. Mostly because so much of Season 2 takes place closer to the actual Rebel base on Yavin 4. These are just more scenes of the stormtroopers running to that bay where he's stealing the TIE Avenger. This is him in the field hugging Bix after he's landed the TIE Avenger in that giant field of wheat. These troopers in the riot gear are in the middle of that town square where you see everything going crazy. This is another part of that scene where you see him actually hot-wiring that car in the street. Not totally sure what Cyril Karn is doing here, or what building he's at, or what planet he's on, but it seems like because he's wearing the suit, things have looked up for his career, maybe because of what Dedra has done, because he's basically like Lord Simp. They kind of exist in this weird relationship where like she feeds off of his kinks and he feeds off of her kinks, but it's this weird dysfunctional relationship that they share. My assumption is that through Season 2, he'll just continue helping her try to search for the rebels and the rebel base. More of that scene of the riot at the town square. Not totally sure where this firefight is going on inside the building here. Then it looks like one of the rebels pulls a gun in the middle of this crowd here. Not sure if this is on Coruscant or on another planet, but it does seem like the people are a little more nicely dressed, so it's probably on Coruscant. More of that scene of the stormtroopers trying to stop him from stealing the TIE Avenger. Him inside this shop with the spider murals around the top of the ceiling here is from that town square where the riot is happening. There's a different heist going on during this scene here. Then you actually see Bix on some other ship fighting with the Imperial here. Don't know who this person yelling is, but probably just one of the other rebels. Then we see Cyril Karn's mother laughing at someone, might be laughing at him because she did that a lot during Season 1. No matter how well it looks like his career is doing, it probably won't be quite good enough for her. This is just more of that riot at the town square. They've like really broken this up across the entire trailer. Then we see Saw Gerrera giving a pep talk to one of the rebels that's on his team, pulling this heist or whatever this mission is here. Then we get that wry smile from him. Love the way they end the trailer here. The design language of this building that he's in makes me think it's on that same planet where the riot takes place, but this could be on a completely different planet. One of the many reasons why the show wound up being so expensive is because they did a lot of it practically instead of on the volume like a lot of other Star Wars shows, which is why it looks so much better. Like it actually looks amazing compared to other Star Wars shows. But it also drove the budget through the roof, which also caused it to be canceled sooner than it probably should have. They intended to go way more seasons originally. So I guess you win some, you lose some. Hopefully the technology for doing a lot of this stuff will get cheaper in the next 10 years, so they won't have to make that kind of Sophie's choice where it's like, do we want it to look good, or do we want it to run for many, many seasons? The other real big reminder is that this is the only Star Wars live-action thing that they're releasing this year. There might be some animated stuff later this year that they haven't really talked about that much. There's always animated stuff that Star Wars is working on, Dave Filoni is working on in the background, that they don't tell you about till like right before it actually airs. Next year, we're getting the Mandalorian and Grogu movie in the spring, around the time we're getting Avengers 5 Doomsday. We'll see which one of those movies winds up switching dates, just because they're both supposed to be released around the same time. And they're supposed to be releasing Ahsoka Season 2 later next year, and that'll be like the last live-action thing that Star Wars has on their docket. After that, if Ahsoka gets canceled, there are no more live-action things that they've announced. But supposedly, they are working on other live-action series that they have not announced yet because they're waiting to see if they actually start shooting it before they announce it, which is probably the smart thing to do. Like, don't announce something if you're not planning on actually making it. So we will see what the future of live-action Star Wars TV is after Ahsoka Season 2. I've already done a couple videos about Ahsoka Season 2 because it looks like it's going to be a banger, like they'll fix a lot of issues with Season 1, and they're going full live-action Clone Wars with Obi-Wan Kenobi coming back for those. Gonna get Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and little Ahsoka, like young Ahsoka, all in live-action together. Hopefully. They said he's coming back, but they didn't say they're all going to be in the same scenes together at the same time. But why would you bring them all back at the same time if you weren't going to put them in the same scene at the same time? Like, you bring them back for live-action Clone Wars, that's why you do something like that. We'll see who else shows up from the prequels during Season 2. Whatever winds up happening, of course I will do videos about it, so be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss anything. Everybody click here for all my Ahsoka Season 2 videos, and click here for my Mandalorian and Grogu trailer video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.